Hi, I'm Doug, and on behalf of everyone at Celestion, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the fourth video in the F12-X200 and the F12M-150 triple cone video series. Down below in the show notes, you're going to find timeline links to all the chapters in this video, links to the other videos in this series, as well as a link so you can download the presets for all the tones you're going to hear in this video. Just keep in mind they've been fine-tuned for the different configurations that I've got the Axe-Fx using for these demos. We're going to hear a variety of different instruments and sounds like my ES335. The brand new PRS Mark Lettieri signature Fiore. As well as my EMG-equipped Ibanez ART 500. In the previous videos, I used a range of styles and sounds like you just heard for each one of the cabinets and/or combos I demonstrated. The goal was to let you hear, first of all, as a direct replacement solution for a cabinet or combo that you might not have been actively using, you can just pop them in there and it's one and done, or something like that. The other thing is that Celestion refers to these speakers as full-range live response. They were designed from the ground up to take your favorite modeler and be able to amplify it, but with a very, very important part of the equation. These speakers are designed to be placed in enclosures that were designed to amplify the electric guitar. That is a big deal. This time around, I'm going to take a slightly different approach because I'm using the Axe-Fx III. If you're not a Fractal Audio user, trust me, there's going to be a ton of great content for you. That said, one of the great things about the Axe-Fx III is it has 4 sets of stereo outputs. And as I thought about how I would use this and create a backline for doing so, I was like, well, for open back sounds, I'd use something like the JC120, which is a 212 open back configuration. For tighter sounds, I'd use the Boogie Thiele cabinets. And when I wanted a blend, I'd use the Marshall 1968 cabinets. All right, before we get to the 1968 ABY demos, would like to take a moment and invite you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please ring the bell so we can let you know when the next videos go online. With that said, let's get to it. For all the ABY demos, you'll start off hearing the F12-X200 on your left-hand side, the F12M-150 triple cone on your right-hand side, and then the blend. This first demo is utilizing my Kenny Wayne Shepherd Strat in combination with a Vibroverb model. Like a lot of Axe-Fx users, I own some of the amps that are in there, including a Vibroverb. It is a vintage Fender amplifier. It's an open back, single 15 enclosure, very unique sounding amplifier. What's great about these speakers is they do a great job of recreating the vibe of that amplifier, even in a 412 cabinet. The whole point is getting into the vibe, getting into the zone, and playing and not wanting to stop. And that's exactly what happened when I dialed up this tone. Let's take a listen. Before we deconstruct this next demo, I want to take a moment to remind you that down in the show notes, you've got timeline links you can get to anywhere you want to get to in this video, whether it's coming back to this chapter or just jumping on to the other demos. I want you to be able to get the most out of this video. This particular section is going to be really valuable if you end up going this route with whether it's the Axe-Fx or any sort of modeler, especially in combination with a 412 cabinet. What we're going to talk about in terms of EQ is really important. So here's the deal. Moving forward, we're going to refer to the F12-X200 as the X200 and the F12M-150 triple cone as the triple cone. Down below, taking a look at the frequency curves for these two different speakers, you're going to notice that the X200's got a little bit of a bump from the 100 to 500 hertz range. It drops off right around 5K and then comes up and continues on to 20K, where the triple cone drops off right around 12K. Generally speaking, what that means is the X200's got a little bit more body, the triple cone's a little bit brighter, and that stuff happening around 12K and above, I generally don't notice. If you got dog ears, you might, but my dog ears went bye-bye a long time ago. All right, so here's the thing. Inside the Axe effects via Axe Edit, there is a menu under the cab block called Preamp. And in there's something called filters. And that's where you're able to apply what's called a low cut filter and a low cut slope. And basically what that enables you to do is choose a frequency. And at that point, you start to reduce the low end from that frequency. For this demo, I chose 90 hertz and a 12 dB slope. And basically that means that the rumbly stuff that you probably don't want to hear, especially with a piezo, you're able to just basically filter that out. Now, somebody out there is going, well, wait a second, isn't the low E string, and I actually use the open low E string, 82.4 hertz? Absolutely. So that's why you want to adjust where that low cut point actually is. And that's one of the things they make it very easy to do inside Axe Edit. So with that said, let's take a listen. For this one, I'm utilizing my American Original 60 Stratocaster, 50-watt plexi model, and the IR for the 1968 pinstripe Marshall cabinet. Here's the deal. Last year, I bought a 1967 pinstripe Marshall cabinet with the Holy Grail 55 hertz pulsonic cones, Celestions in it. That cabinet in combination with a 1971 small box 1987 Marshall is so in the kind of Wind Cries Mary Jimmy zone. It's nuts. So here's the thing, is this rig comes exceptionally close to the sound and the feel of that, except for the fact we're completely in the digital domain until we get to the speakers. Celestion was doing it in the 60s, and they're still doing it today. Let's take a listen. So that gets us to the MESA-BOOGIE Thiele cabinets, and they are awesome. Both cabinets are loaded with the triple cones. And like the 1968 demos, I'm powering them with my Seymour Duncan Power Stage 700 700-watt power amp. Noting that those are rated at 150 watts per speaker, I can't crank that puppy up all the way, but trust me, those speakers in those cabinets get deathly loud. All right, this demo, utilizing my SG and Drop D, I'm using a CA3 Plus amp model with a pair of basket weed cabinets, a little bit of delay going on, or maybe more than a little bit. But the thing that I'm doing about this preset that I think is most interesting is I have the bass filter, or the bass cut filter, I should say, at 100 hertz with a slope of 24 dB per octave. Noting that I'm using Drop D here, it's pretty clear that there's still signal that's passing below 100 hertz. So the whole point about this bass cut filter is it allows you to really kind of tighten up the bottom end and get it to sit exactly where you want it. Let's check it out. So for this one, I'm rocking my Ibanez in Drop D flat. I'm using the Friedman BE100 plugin, a pair of the Fractal Audio 412 cabinets panned left and right, greenbacks on the left, vintage 30s on the right, and I've got the bass cut filter kind of at the stock setting, if you will, at 52.8 hertz. That's where it was set up inside this preset. Now I am, of course, using Cygnus. Not all the presets in here actually have the bass cut filter set. This one already did, and it sounded great. Let's take a listen. And in contrast to the other two demos, now we're going to hear the ES335 in combination with a Super Reverb model for some very pretty clean tones. For all the JC120 demos, I'm coming out of the Axe-Fx in stereo, going into the two main inputs on the back of the JC120, leveraging the dual 60-watt power amps that power the two speakers in that combo. In this particular case, I'm using a pair of the X200s. This first demo is going to utilize the PRS Mark Lettieri signature Fiore. It's a great guitar. I'm still using the Super Reverb amp model, but I've added a stereo chorus for something kind of snappy and funky. One of the things that amazes me about these speakers and the rigs that I've built using them is it just continues to pull new musical ideas out of me. Most importantly, unlike things that I've played before. And this next demo is a perfect example of exactly that. This last demo is utilizing a basement amp model NIR. And I kind of sculpted the bottom end by setting the bass cut at 100 Hertz, 12 dB slope. And I took some of the high end off. And the end result was the ability to play this particular demo across a range of strings, across the range of the instrument, and not have any notes be too boomy or too bright. On behalf of everyone at Celestion, thanks so much for checking out this video. For more information about the F12-X200 and the F12M-150 triple cone, please visit Celestion.com. And again, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, we'd love to invite you to do so. Please ring the bell so we can let you know when the next videos are going to go online. In the meantime, thanks again for watching. Cheers.